Dear students, in this video, I would like to discuss the chapter Dakshayani Velayudhan, a biographic sketch. This is the third chapter from the text Plural Perspectives, Readings on Gender. This is a textbook prescribed for the second semester common students of Kannur University. In this essay, Dr. Meera Velayudhan describes the life and struggles of Dakshayani Velayudhan. Dakshayani Velayudhan was a parliamentarian and social activist. She was the first Dalit woman graduate in India. When you go through this essay, we get an idea about the world in which Dakshayani Velayudhan was born into and the struggles that she experienced as a woman and as a Dalit. Dakshayani Velayudhan was born in 1912 at Bolgatti in Ernakulam. This place was part of the Cochin princely state at that time. She was born into Pulaya community. This community was considered as untouchable caste and they were denied some basic human rights. They were not allowed to walk freely through the public roads. They were not allowed to gather together in public places like coffee shops. They were not allowed to take bath in public ponds. All these basic human rights were denied to that community. And the time that we are discussing, some major changes were happening in the social milieu of Kerala. Because of the efforts made by people like Iyengali, we find that the Pulaya community was fighting for their freedom. Iyengali was born in 1863 and died in 1941. In 1893, he led his famous Walk for Freedom. What was that? As I mentioned, the Pulaya community was not allowed to walk freely through the roads. The paradox is this: they themselves constructed roads. Their physical labor was used for the construction of roads, public places like, ponds, but they did not have any permission to use all these things. This was sheer injustice. And they were not allowed to dress like the way others dressed. Upper caste women, when they were allowed to wear clothes, women from the lower caste sections of society, they were not allowed to cover their breasts. Iyengali led some famous struggles that we find today when we read. This has been recorded in the history of Kerala in golden letters. Let me come back to the point that I was trying to make. In 1893, he made his famous walk to freedom, that is through the streets of Venganur. He traveled in his Villuvandi, his bullock cart, wearing just like the clothes of an upper caste. Wearing turban, Iyengali traveled in his bullock cart, wearing the clothes of an upper caste. That is, at that time, they were allowed to cover only the up from their waist to their knee. But here he is fully covered with a turban in his head, challenging the system of that time. And he resulted in many more battles to come. We find that the agrarian strikes for the right to get education and Kallumala struggle. That means, as I mentioned, the women were not allowed to cover their breasts. Instead, they were forced to wear necklaces, Kallumala in Malayalam. Beads, necklaces with beads indicating their age. So, Iyengali demanded the people from their community to break away from this system. And this struggle is known as Kallumala struggle. That was also held during that time. So, my dear student, what I was trying to tell you is this. Dakshayani Velayudhan was born at such turbulent time in history.